Our first guest is Nicole Kiprilov, Executive Director of the American Border Story. Nicole has led TABS, as we call it for short, from vision to reality, overseeing its launch and shaping its mission to expose the human cost of America's broken immigration system. With a background in media strategy and grassroots advocacy, Nicole has been instrumental in amplifying the voices of angel families, law enforcement, and border communities the mainstream media refuses to acknowledge. Under her leadership, TABS has quickly become a force for truth and accountability on one of the most urgent issues facing our nation, if not the most urgent. Nicole, welcome to Fine Point.
Thank you so much for having me, Christian.
You got it. What inspired you to take the lead on launching the American Border Story, and what do you see as its core mission?
So I think we've seen over the past few years, especially as this illegal immigration crisis has really exploded under the Biden administration with their absolutely disastrous, deadly policies, what we've seen is there's been this gap on the right in the conservative movement, this need for very strong messaging, storytelling, I would say probably communications as a whole, these efforts to bring light to the truth about what the consequences of the failed border policies are and just how many victims of those policies are in this country, because there really are so many victims whose stories we don't know. I think that we have really phenomenal conservative organizations that certainly deal with immigration policy, and we have tremendous experts who have been predicting some of the devastation that we're now seeing play out. But what's really been missing is this content driven, victim driven storytelling initiative to really humanize the illegal immigration crisis from a nonpartisan, from a raw, from a real perspective. We know some of the victims. We know Laken Riley, we know Rachel Morin, Jocelyn Ngara. They've been in the spotlight, but there are just so many more, and not just. I'd say not just victims of illegal immigrant murderers, but also victims like business owners, hotel owners, ranchers in border towns, spouses of Border Patrol agents. We have law enforcement at every level who have been dragged through the mud, who have been become victims in so many different ways. So there are a lot of untold stories out there, and now is the time more than ever, I think, to ensure that the American people can hear these stories. And I would say, especially the people in this country, Christian, Democrats and liberals, who may be on the fence about what the Trump administration is doing, because the reality is that the Trump administration is doing God's work. They're saving lives. There's no doubt about that. But there's so many false, disgusting media narratives that are trying to brainwash the American people, and I think they're failing. But we want to ensure that what we're doing is everything we can to counter those false media narratives, which is very much a part of our core mission. Tell the raw and real stories. And like I said, even convince people who voted for Kamala Harris, who voted for Joe Biden years ago, that they've been lied to by these corrupt Democrat politicians, as well as the mainstream media. So look, we're here to support the victims of the illegal immigration crisis, to give them resources, and ultimately, like I said, to tell their stories and ensure everyone hears them.
Why do you think it is that the Democrat media complex has so consistently avoided these stories? What's the impact of that silence?
Well, I'd say it's because the Democrat media complex has been for years working very intentionally with Democrat lawmakers, politicians, bureaucrats, strategists. It's a whole operation. They've been working together to ultimately, there's no other way to say this except destroy this country. That's ultimately what it comes down to. They don't want to tell the stories of the victims, because these stories, the reason why they exist in the first place is because of all these actors working together to facilitate the biggest invasion this country's ever seen. They have blood on their hands. The blood of all of the victims is on their hands. And the fact of the matter is, you couldn't talk about this before President Trump started to shed light on it many years ago. When he first, I always say this, when he first rode down the escalator in 2015 in New York City at Trump Tower, and announced his candidacy. It's not like he hadn't been talking about it before, but that was the point that I think everything changed. He ushered in this new era into this country, into this world. Even it's really incredible to live through the era of Donald Trump, because he not only changed the political landscape, I think he changed how the American people think about media, how they think about communication, just to get at the very root of this. How do people communicate, and how should people communicate? What's the role of the press? What's the role of media in society? We've strayed so far away from what the framers intended, from what has originally been the intention of our Constitution. And I think that until Donald Trump started talking about this, a vast majority of the people didn't know that they shouldn't be okay with the status quo, because the status quo was the media lying to them.
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was when I was listening on the radio to that speech, that you're talking about with Trump, and it was that very line where he talked about how America has become the dumping ground for all the world's problems, where my ears perked up and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This guy could win, because here in California we had Pete Wilson back in the 90s who became governor, campaigning on that issue of immigration. And even in California, that was a winning issue. That's always been, and that was an untapped winning issue for many years. That was neglected by the Republican Party. And there's that moment that I'm like, whoa, okay, this is a game changer. I've never heard a politician talk like this about that issue. What kind of response have you seen so far from angel families, law enforcement, or the public since last month's launch?
I think the response has been tremendous. I really don't think we expected this initiative, which you're very much a part of. I don't think we expected it to grow so quickly. We've gotten so much great feedback from everything we've done, and we haven't even started releasing our content yet. Actually, our first piece of content will be dropping today. It'll be the interview that we did with Lauren Phillips, who is Laken Riley's sister. And it's a very touching, deep interview about who Laken Riley was. That's our first piece dropping today. But we've already gotten so much traction. We've gotten great feedback from our angel families. Many of them saying that we've actually done for them more these past few months than people have done for them for years. And frankly, that's not really surprising, though, because the Biden administration never reached out to these families. The victims of the illegal immigration crisis under the Biden administration were entirely forgotten. They were entirely ignored. They weren't just ignored and forgotten. They were intentionally deprioritized. Because as we know, and as we're getting more and more information about this, the priority for the Biden-Harris administration was the criminals, the heinous rapists, murderers, drug cartel leaders, gang members, terrorists, that came into this country and completely just wreaked havoc on our society. So I think propping them up, supporting them, these criminals, giving them resources to commit these gut-wrenching crimes is what the Biden administration was all about. And now, thank God, we have the Trump administration. Such a stark difference. We have the Trump administration supporting our victims, the people who should be supported, and they are working to put the families, the victims, at the forefront to ultimately deliver justice to them. We can never bring back their loved ones, but what we can do is ensure that this never happens again. This was 100% preventable. And so we're just so incredibly honored to be helping in that effort. And I think the impact has been amazing, but we're not stopping here.
Well, what can we tell the audience as to where TABS is headed next, and how can viewers get involved and support our mission?
So we have a lot of exciting events and updates coming. As you know, last month we had a very big event in DC where we did a 3-day extravaganza with just the news and Real America's Voice. we had a big event honoring the Angel families, policy experts, administration officials. We gave an award to Tom Homan, Art Del Cueto, Kieran Donahue of the National Sheriff's Association, plus a lot more awards. We met with Caroline Levitt at the White House, she and May Mailman, who work with Stephen Miller, they have been they were tremendous in hearing the stories of our families and getting some policy recommendations from them. So we had that big event last month and all of that going on, but we have so much more to come. We actually are planning another event in September. It's going to be a town hall with the wives of Border Patrol agents, and that will likely be in Eagle Pass. So definitely stay tuned for that. A lot of more updates to come, plus some more events in between, press conferences, hearings. And like I mentioned, we have our content dropping every week now. It's going to be a mix of creative video content and documentary content, as well as guerrilla style content. So stay tuned for that. We also announced our scholarship fund titled the American Border Story Scholarship Fund, named in honor of Laken Riley, Jocelyn Ngare, and Rachel Morin, to honor their memory and to really preserve their legacy. So we will be announcing the names of the recipients this fall. But if you'd like to nominate someone or to donate, and if you'd like to look at our content as well, you can go to our website, which is theamericanborderstory.com. As for getting involved, besides visiting our website, send us an email. Send us an email at info@theamericanborderstory.org. We read everything, especially if you are a victim or if you are connected with victims, please reach out to us. We would love to tell your story. That's what we're here for. You can follow us on X at Tabs Report. You can also follow us on all of our other social media at The American Border Story. So please reach out to us and get in touch.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. We'll talk soon. Stay tuned. What is the California legislature's plan to tackle the cost of living? Leo Zaki weighs in.